Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today our read was in Psalms, and we're in Psalm 45, 47, and 48, 87, and 110. And as you read through today's Psalms, you may have picked up on this theme of David prophesying about Christ coming back. There's a lot of that through these chapters, and it's really cool. 45, very specific about Christ's return. And in 45:7, it says, "You loved righteousness and hated wickedness." Now, this is obviously speaking of God, about His Son, Jesus Christ. But the characteristics of God are seen in His righteousness. He loves righteousness and He hates wickedness. God loves truth. He loves justice. I mean, the Bible is full of the things that God loves, and it spells it out for us. We don't have to guess or think, try and think too hard about who God is. The Bible will tell us who God is and tell us what He loves and tell us what He hates, so that we can line ourselves up with God without any guesswork, with knowing and being very secure in who God is, which as a reflection of Him tells me exactly what kind of characteristics and what kind of traits I'm supposed to have. So I love the fact that He tells us this. But if we are ministers of God's righteousness, if we are His people that He has called to this profession of law enforcement, then we too should love righteousness. Now, this is on duty and off duty. Righteousness is a lifestyle. It's not just something that when I come in at 6 o'clock in the evening, I turn on righteousness and I work till 6 a.m. and I'm righteous for that 12 hours and then I go home and just do whatever. I mean, it is a lifestyle. You are called to go above and beyond while you're on duty and off duty as a Christian law enforcement officer. We're supposed to live this example. So 45, read that. Really good law enforcement takeaway for us. I'm going to jump from these, skip the ones in the middle, and go from a law enforcement takeaway I saw in 110, verse 7, because it really excited me. It was something I saw for the first time as I was doing this read this morning and preparing for this video. It says, "He will drink from the brook by the wayside, therefore he will lift up his head." And again, just like I was talking about this thread, this is speaking of the God the Father speaking to God the Son. David says, "When my Lord said to my Lord." So don't get confused there. When David says that, he is prophesying that God is speaking this psalm to Jesus. And it's telling what Jesus is going to do. Jesus is going to be a priest in the order of Melchizedek, which means that Jesus will be priest, prophet, and king. He'll be all three. He'll hold all three of those positions, and that's very important in the Jewish and Hebrew law and in the rule. He is the only one to hold those three positions. So that's what being in the order of Melchizedek is. He is the king, priest, and prophet. But what it reminded me of is it says he will drink from the brook by the wayside. Therefore, he will lift up his head. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago we did a study? We were going through Judges, and we came to Gideon. And Gideon had this army. He was going to fight the Midianites, and there was 100,000 Midianites, and Gideon only had an army of 30,000. And God took 10 of those away, or sent 10 of those away, and he had 20,000. Then God said, "There's still too many." So he said, "Take them to the brook and watch them drink water." The ones who get on their knees, they kneel down, and they put their face in the water, and they lap it up like a dog, he said, "Send those folks home." But the ones who squat down, cup the water, and bring it up to their mouth and drink it while they keep their eyes on a swivel, keep their head on a swivel and their eyes up, those are the tactically sound guys. He says, keep those. Man, this was just a flashback to that when I read it this morning. Jesus, man, he comes back as the warrior king. So obviously he is tactically sound. And here we see him. He will drink by the brook, by the wayside. Therefore he will lift up his head. You can just see it. Now, reading the commentaries, because I wanted to make sure I was on point with this and not telling you something that was not correct. I read a lot of commentaries, read a lot of comments in study Bibles, and everything is kind of up to interpretation. You've got different people interpreting it different ways, and this is just my interpretation of what I see. A lot of them agreed that the fact that when he lifts his head up, he lifts his head up as a conqueror, and it shows that Jesus is worthy of our honor and respect because he stands like a king would stand with his head held high. And I get that, and I believe that, but I can't help but think that there's also just a hint of this tactically sound king, this warrior king, when Christ comes back for the second advent. Anyway, just a neat study, neat law enforcement takeaways. Tomorrow we're going to be in, get this, First Kings chapter 1 all the way through chapter 2 verse 12, and then we're going to read 2 Samuel chapter 23 verses 1 through 7. So read ahead, come back tomorrow, and let's discuss this. You guys be safe out there.